In 1978, a young Trans World Airlines TWA pilot named Barry Seal lives in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, with his wife Lucy and spends most of his time working, and is sometimes forced to amuse himself during his flights.
Just a little bit of turbulence.
To make extra money on the side, Barry smuggles in Cuban cigars every couple of weeks. One day, a CIA officer named Monty Schaffer approaches Barry and asks him to run a front company called Independent Aviation Consultants, IAC, and discreetly work for them, using his excellent flying skills to fly over South America, and take reconnaissance pictures of a communist group named Sandinista, funded by Russia. Monty then impresses the reluctant Barry by giving him a fancy state-of-the-art plane and allowing him to test drive it. By the end of their meeting, Monty warns Barry to keep the mission a secret from everyone, including his wife.
Anyone finds out about it, family, friends, even Lucy.
The next day, Barry reports to work at the TWA, and as he goes over the safety check with his co-pilot, he suddenly realizes he can no longer continue doing the same job and walks out for good without even a notice. Soon, Barry starts his recon mission for the CIA and flies daringly low all over South America, taking pictures of the Sandinistas while being shot at. As the months go by, the CIA continues relying on Barry's outstanding pictures and realizes that he's a reliable asset. In 1980, the CIA assigns Barry to work as a courier, delivering money to a colonel in Panama named Noriega, who in turn provides intel on his people, especially those with communist affiliations. This also comes easily for Barry, and he manages to smoothly execute his orders.
Just drop off and pick up.
However, one day, as he tries to refill his plane in Colombia, Barry is picked up by a couple of shady men from the Medellin cartel and is transported to their boss, Jorge Ochoa, who gives him a tour of their giant cocaine farm. There, Jorge is joined by his partners Pablo Escobar and Carlos Later and explains that despite using various methods, they had faced issues getting their product over the U.S. border. Then the trio asks Barry to smuggle their cocaine to Miami on his plane and offers to pay him generously. Barry is impressed with their offer and decides to consider the offer. Then as Barry prepares to load the cocaine, Jorge gives him the drop-off location in Miami, but Barry refuses to land carrying the massive amounts of cocaine and convinces the cartel to accept his idea of airdropping the packages in the countryside of Louisiana.
See right here? See that there?
Then the cartel and all their local stuff start packaging large amounts of cocaine, which Barry then wraps in floating gears. However, once 300 pounds of cocaine is loaded on the plane, Barry refuses to add any more for fear of overloading the plane.
No más, no más, no más.
Then Barry and the cartel employ the help of the locals to push the plane and prepare it for takeoff. Then, as the cartel bosses take bets on his fate, Barry holds his breath and navigates the short runway. Despite a shaky start, Barry finally manages to take off. Barry then makes it to the U.S. without any problems, flies low over the countryside of Louisiana, and expertly airdrops the packages to the waiting cartel men. He then cleans his plane before heading to the U.S. Customs. In Colombia, Jorge and his partners celebrate the successful delivery, invite Barry to their mansion to pay him, and arrange the next drop. However, a few minutes into their meeting, the mansion is surrounded by the military.
Tranquilo.
Soon, all hell breaks loose as the military raids the mansion and arrests the Medellin bosses and Barry, who tries to escape with his money. A few hours later, the Medellin bosses beat the charges and walk out of the prison, to chants of the adoring locals, while Barry is taken to jail. Later, Monty personally gets Barry released and informs him that in light of his drug trafficking, the Louisiana PD has scheduled to raid his house the next morning and offers to help him relocate his family to Mina, Arkansas. In exchange, Monty asks Barry to transport guns to Nicaragua to help the freedom fighters called Contras fight against the new communist regime of the Sandinistas.
I think they know that I am CIA.
You're a drug smuggler, Barry.
Once in the U.S., Barry rushes to his home in the middle of the night and somehow convinces his pregnant wife to move to a house in Mina, provided by the CIA. In Mina, as soon as the SEALs reach their new house, Monty meets with Barry, takes him to a nearby airstrip, and informs him that the small, fully equipped airport, together with the 2,000 acres of land surrounding it and his house, are now his. He then gives Barry a bag full of money and hands him boxes full of weapons to be delivered, along with a map of law enforcement investigation to study and choose his routes carefully. In 1981, Barry starts his gun delivery to the Contras, but soon realizes that the Contras only want to get money and don't care at all for the war.
Schaefer, I ain't no military expert,
but are you sure these are the right guys?
Perplexed by the situation, on his next trip, Barry takes gifts to the Contras to pacify them until Jorge shows up out of nowhere and helps him out.
Put the map down, huevón. We're all friends here.
Jorge then proposes a new business arrangement in which Barry delivers the guns to him in Colombia, then transports Jorge's cocaine to the Contras, who will smuggle it across the border to Miami. Meanwhile, Barry loads his plane full of cocaine and flies back to the U.S., airdropping his package in the Louisiana countryside for a hefty profit. The operation soon grows so quickly that Barry is forced to employ his friend's help and forms a small crew to fly the merchandise back and forth. With Barry's friends at the helm, the operation flows smoothly and quickly. One day, Monty comes to see Barry at his airstrip and informs him that they will use some of his land to build a training camp for the Contras. Then, Barry's ordered to fly Contras over to the U.S. so that they can enroll in the training. However, as soon as they enter the U.S., the Contras start running away from the camp, hoping to make a better life for themselves and their families.
We're confident the Contras can win by summer if we give them what they need.
It's great.
Hoping to train the Contras so that they can overthrow the Sandinistas as soon as possible, the CIA expands its operation and demands that Barry increase the number of Contras transported into the country.
Good, take care of everybody. Just calm up.
By the summer of 1982, Barry's business skyrockets. This forces Barry to open a few front operations and launder his large amount of income. However, the fronts are unable to handle Barry's massive income, and Barry's forced to deposit millions of dollars in multiple banks around Mina. Barry then buys new planes to facilitate his operation and continues to execute his business smoothly.
I was taking pictures, delivering guns.
That Christmas, Barry introduces his wife to Jorge and the Medellin cartel, and they spend time having fun with the locals in Colombia. With his money still overflowing, Barry is forced to pack it in suitcases and bury it in his backyard, while he keeps more than 50 kilograms of gold jewelry in his closet.
4 buried in the woods behind my house, and 90 pounds of gold in my closet.
One day, Lucy's brother JB comes to stay with the Steels, admires their luxurious mansion with a barn full of horses, and gets acclimated. Despite Barry's offer to give JB some money and help him figure his life out elsewhere, Lucy insists on her brother staying with them, getting a job and earning his own money. One night in 1983, the DEA uses its fancy new jets to chase Barry and his crew, who have trespassed a control zone without identification, and orders them to land. Knowing the new jets use too much fuel while speeding, Barry and his crew travel slowly and cruise the country all night. This forces the DEA to refuel and gives the crew a chance to safely fly back home.
Welcome back.
Soon as Barry's income keeps growing, a local bank allocates their main vault to him while building a new, smaller one for the rest of their customers.
Oh, no. We're using this auxiliary for all our other customers.
A few days later, as Barry returns from his trip to Colombia, the U.S. Border Control chases after him by using slower, fuel-efficient jets and orders him to land. Unable to surrender, Barry crash lands in a suburban neighborhood, abandoning the plane full of cocaine and disappears.
Well, that's for the damage. You never saw me.
Meanwhile, in Colombia, Pablo Escobar boldly declares war on the government, and the Medellin cartel is forced out of the country and takes refuge in Nicaragua, where Jorge invites Barry for a meeting. In Mina, JB gets arrested with a suitcase full of money, which causes chaos. Hoping to calm Lucy down and handle the situation, Barry cuts his meeting short and returns home. However, seeing how troubled Barry is, the cartel swears to handle JB.
Listen to me. We'll handle it. Okay?
Later that day, Barry bails JB out of jail, gives him a passport and a bag full of cash, drops him off at a car on an abandoned road, and orders him to go to Bora Bora and start over. JB's hurt by this and drives off in anger, but within seconds, the car explodes and kills him. Barry's utterly shocked by this, but knowing that it's the cartel's handiwork, he hides the car in the woods and leaves. A few days later, in the CIA, Monty gets reviewed, and his boss points out that half the guns he was meant to send to the Contras have ended up in the hands of the Colombian cartel, and more than half of the Contras he brought over for training have run off. Triggered by the bad review and its implication, Monty uses his colleagues' help in erasing any paper trail that connects him to Barry.
Purchase orders, aircraft invoices.
Meanwhile, suspecting that things have gone awry from Monty's shadiness, Barry and his crew start clearing his airstrip of everything, but he's soon simultaneously arrested by the local police, DEA, FBI, and ATF.
Here, DEA, all right?
FBI!
Then Barry's taken to the district attorney Dana Sabata, who starts to explain the gravity of his crimes until she's contacted by the governor, who authorizes Barry's release.
What the hell you mean he's free to
You want
go?
to explain what's going on here?
He's free to go.
Barry is then transported to the White House, where he attends a meeting between a DEA agent who wants to put the Medellin cartel out of business once and for all, and Colonel Ollie North, who wants to prove the communists in Central America are involved in the drug trade. The meeting is then concluded by asking Barry to get pictures that tie the Sandinistas to the Medellin cartel. Barry and his friend Pete head to Nicaragua to carry out the mission, but are scared when they are held at gunpoint on arrival.
Shoot the gringos! Shoot the gringos!
They then meet with Jorge and a paranoid Pablo Escobar, and while Pete takes pictures with the secret cameras, Barry helps the cartel load cocaine onto the plane. Unfortunately, a few days later, these photos, which include Barry, were broadcast on national TV, hoping to expose a Nicaraguan official involved in the drug trade. This reveals Barry as the White House source to the cartel, who become furious and vow vengeance.
Shows Federico Vaughn.
The feds then raid Barry's house and confiscate all the money and jewelry. For their safety, Barry manages to convince Lucy to move to Baton Rouge with the kids while he awaits his sentence. A few days later in court, Barry is shocked to receive only 1,000 hours of community service, and knowing that the cartel will be looking for him, he starts spending his days in different motels, making videos of everything he knows about the CIA, the cartels, and the Contras. Every morning, Barry expects his car to explode and starts it slowly. Unfortunately, as per the judge's order, Barry shows up at the Salvation Army every night at the same time for his community service, which makes him an easy find for the cartel, and he's shot dead by an assassin.
That this ain't the greatest country in the world.
Elsewhere, Monty comes up with the idea to equip the Contras through Iran, gets promoted, and the CIA continues to use Barry's planes in Nicaragua until one of them is shot down. In Baton Rouge, Lucy works as a waitress in a fast food chain to support her family while safeguarding a few fancy jewelry for the rainy days. And with that, the story ends. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more of the best film recaps.